Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're completely taking the guesswork out of solar power. You know those solar guessing games you see all over the internet? Yeah, we're ditching those. Instead, we're using real, practical engineering math to figure out exactly how to build a rock-solid, reliable solar system specifically for a classroom. So, here's the big question. How many solar panels do you actually need to keep a school classroom powered up? We're talking fans, lights, laptops, the whole shebang. The stakes here are honestly pretty high. If you underestimate the math, well, you're looking at interrupted lessons, frustrated students, and dead batteries that wear out way before their time. We literally cannot afford to just guess here. And there is a massive difference between the typical internet guesswork, which usually just tells you to add up some watts and buy a random handful of panels, and real, actual engineering. In this explainer, we're leaning on real, loss-adjusted electrical formulas to build a robust system that you can actually depend on, day in and day out. Here is our step-by-step blueprint. 1. The classroom load. 2. Power versus energy. 3. Accounting for losses. 4. Panels and batteries. 5. The inverter. And finally, 6. Hidden safety risks. We're going to break this math down sequentially so it all makes perfect sense. All right, step 1, the classroom load. Assuming a standard modern classroom setup, we really have to account for absolutely everything. 4 ceiling fans and 8 LED bulbs, that gives us 280 watts. Throw in a 15-watt Wi-Fi router. But here's the thing, the real heavy lifters are those student laptops. Just 10 of them, using 65-watt chargers, pulls a massive 650 watts all on its own. When we add all of those tangible loads together, we land at a continuous running load of 945 watts. And this brilliantly illustrates our baseline. Our classroom is basically chewing through nearly 1 full kilowatt every single moment that all this equipment is operating together. Moving on to step 2, power versus energy. So, the crucial point is this is where most beginners make their very first major mistake, confusing watts with watt-hours. Energy, which we measure in watt-hours, equals power in watts multiplied by time in hours. Put simply, power is just what the appliances demand at any exact second. Energy is the total amount they gobble up over the entire school day. Let's apply our 945-watt running load to a typical 6-hour school day. 945 watts multiplied by 6 hours gives us 5,670 watt-hours. To put that into perspective, that is approximately 5.7 kilowatt-hours per day. That number right there, that's our absolute baseline daily energy consumption. Step 3, accounting for losses. Now, in the real world, no electrical setup is 100% efficient. It's just a fact. Every time power moves through your inverter into your batteries, or honestly, even just through your wiring, you lose a little bit of it. To compensate for these system losses, we absolutely must add a 20% buffer. We do this by taking our daily energy of 5,670 watt-hours and dividing it by 0.8. That pushes our true daily energy requirement up to an astonishing 7,087 watt-hours, or roughly 7.1 kilowatt-hours. Which brings us to step 4. Panels and batteries. Let's see how this builds. We use a simple 2-step formula to find our required solar array size. Step 1, we take that loss-adjusted daily requirement of 7,087 watt-hours and divide it by our assumed 5 peak sun hours. That gives us 1,417 total watts of solar power required. Step 2, we simply divide that 1,417 watts by the size of the panels we plan to buy. Let's say we're using a 550-watt panel. The pure math from that last formula gives us 2.57 panels. Now, since we obviously can't buy half a panel, right? 3 550-watt panels is our absolute minimum to meet the load. However, practically speaking, stepping up to 4 panels is highly recommended. It gives you crucial headroom for cloudy days and gives you a bit of wiggle room for future classroom expansion without totally stressing out the system. Next up, we need somewhere to store all that energy for when the sun goes down or, the clouds roll in. To find our battery bank requirement in amp hours, we just divide our 7,087 watt-hour daily need by a standard 48-volt system. That yields about 148 amp hours. When we look at a standard 48-volt, 200 amp-hour lithium iron phosphate or LiFePO4 battery, the math tells us it holds 9.6 kilowatt-hours of total energy. But remember, you don't want to drain batteries completely to zero. We only use what's called the depth of discharge. With an 80% usable energy limit, this specific battery safely provides about 7.6 kilowatt hours. That beautifully, and more importantly, safely covers our 7.1 kilowatt hour requirement for the classroom. Step 5, the inverter. This is the brain of the operation, handling that continuous 945 watt load by converting DC to AC power. You basically have two realistic choices here. A 1500 watt pure sine wave inverter is the bare minimum you can get away with. But stepping up to a 2000 watt pure sine wave inverter, that's definitely the preferred option. It handles startup current surges way more comfortably and leaves some room to grow. And please listen closely to this. Pure sine wave is absolutely mandatory here. Using a cheaper, modified sine wave inverter risks catastrophically damaging those sensitive laptop chargers we calculated earlier. Definitely not worth the risk. Finally, step 6, hidden safety risks. We really have to address these rapid-fire dangers, because getting the math right means absolutely nothing if the system creates a hazard. Overloading the inverter, that causes sudden shutdowns. Undersized batteries will destroy your runtime and completely ruin the battery lifespan. As we just mentioned, modified sine wave inverters damage electronics. Small cables cause massive voltage drops and terrifying heat buildup. Skipping fuse protection creates literal fire hazards. Poor battery ventilation, especially with lead-acid batteries, is incredibly dangerous. And a lack of grounding exposes everyone to electric shock. Safety first, always. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. How many laptops and fans are in your classroom right now? Because you now have the exact blueprint to figure this out. I highly encourage you to take these formulas, sit down, map out your watts, calculate your watt hours, and figure out the exact loads for your own school. Thanks for walking through this explainer with me, and happy calculating.